We are related to welcome you to Inspiring Voices from the Classroom. Inspiring Voices is a one-of-a-kind show designed to recognize and highlight current mathematics classroom teachers and provide a positive platform that allows their authentic voices to be heard. Dwaina Sookhoo is a born and raised New Yorker. She has been teaching in the New York City Department of Education public school system for 10 years and is an active member of professional networks such as Math for America, NOLA's Teacher Initiative, and Stanford Hollyhock. Her husband is also a mathematics educator, but they don't do math problems every night contrary to what their students think. Dwaina enjoys traveling and working on small projects, spending time with friends, and pushing herself professionally and creatively. Let's welcome Dwaina Sookhoo to Inspiring Voices from the Classroom.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're in the state of New York. We're in New York City, but we're not in your hometown.
No.
Tell the audience where you're from. In the audience, you'll find out why I had to phrase it. I have to be very careful when I'm in what they call the city.
I'm from Queens. Queens girl, born, bred, raised, etc. Went to Queens College. That's where I got my math credential. I've taught in Queens for 5 years, and that's my home.
You've taught in Queens for 5 years. Do you now currently teach in Queens?
I do not.
Which borough do you teach in now?
I teach in the borough that we're sitting in, Manhattan, and I teach at a school in Chelsea.
Now, we're going to be controversial in this episode. Which borough produces the best mathematics educators?
My non-biased answer is Queens, 100%.
New York is city. I didn't say that. They said that. Now let's get into this episode's discussion. Now we know you're biased towards Queens. You're an amazing math educator. You do some amazing things in this work as it relates to just your teaching philosophy, your pedagogical strategies, and just what you bring to the classroom. Tell us about your classroom. What is it like to be a child sitting in your classroom now?
I feel like depending on the student you ask, they'll give you a different answer, but my ideal answer from a student would be that it's collaborative, that there's an expectation that they're doing the work, but also working with the people that they're sitting with, that there's a big emphasis on them having ownership of their understanding, but also that they're in a space where they're valued as a person and not just someone doing math, right? Content is not my priority. I know that's controversial, but the people in the room are.
You started off this episode with the Queens controversy. Now you're saying content is not priority, which I totally get, and we'll dive into it. What is important, because there are teachers watching this, there are educators watching this, there are folks that want to get into education watching this. Why is it important to make sure the child is valued in the classroom first?
I think you need that social buy-in, right? Of like, why should I listen to you? Why should I trust you? You know, what are you going to do for me so that I can do something for you? Which ultimately, you know, teaching and learning is an exchange, right? Like I'm trying to share information, but you need to take that information from me. And if you feel like I'm not here for you, I'm not supporting you, then you're going to shut yourself off, you know? And with math especially, I feel like that happens very often because it feels polarizing to learn in a math classroom. And if they're not coming in feeling strong about their math knowledge and their math understanding, I have to make them understand that like I'm here to support you in whatever you're struggling with.
I think that's key. You mentioned, I'm not here to teach you first. I'm here to support you, because children bring into the classroom environment so many different background experiences. They bring in so much knowledge, and we're just facilitating that experience within the classroom. And through that facilitation, take us into what is your teaching philosophy. You've talked about this whole piece of essentially the whole child approach. Take us a little bit more in your classroom.
I, as a teacher, like to be the facilitator, like to give directions and kind of just like let them go to work and give them long periods of time to really grapple with problems. I love having them discover things and kind of figure out like, oh, like where is she taking me? And then at the end, kind of wrapping it up for them in a nice little bow of like, this is what we learned today. But the productive struggle is huge in my room. I really want students to sit through something and be a little uncomfortable with it and really rely on their peers and collaborate through the problems so that then they walk away. It's like, I did that, and it's not someone told me to do that.
You make me think of mathematical practice 1, make sense of problems and persevere in solving them.
Absolutely.
That perfectly sounds like it describes your classroom environment. And through that perseverance, all of us as math educators has a favorite topic, and a topic that we love I'm gonna be honest, I love to see children persevere through the topic. They say I'm being difficult. I'm just trying to make you persevere. What is your favorite topic to teach?
Oh, that's a good question. I love teaching systems of equations. I feel like there's so many different, there's just so many different methods, and kids love one and hate the other, and you can kind of play with it. There's visual, right? There's equations, there's tables, and just being able to bring that all together, so many real world applications for that. And it's fun because they get to really discover it. Like, they have all the tools for all of those things. I'm just putting it together and making it a little bit more complicated, but they walk away being like, oh, like this is why we spent so much time and all this prior knowledge, right? Like, this is where it's going.
And what's a good real world application? Because I know you've had this question before, and I've gotten it every lesson. Every mathematics educator gets this every lesson. Okay, great lesson. When am I going to use this stuff? Why are we learning this? So systems of equations. What's your go-to in your bag of tricks of this is why you need to learn systems of equations?
Yeah, I like to ask them how they make choices on a daily basis, right? Like, how did you decide to buy that iPhone or those sneakers or that coat that you're wearing, right? And thinking about all the variables that go into, right, that final choice that they made, and being like, yeah, maybe you're not making a graph, you're not making a table, you're not whipping out your calculator, but you are comparing two different trajectories of maybe longevity of the item or how popular it is or how it'll make you feel. And in a way that is a system of equations, right? So that comparison tool, even if you're not literally graphing linear systems, you're making a comparison and a judgment based on, a bunch of different variables in real time.
And it's getting them to see the real world application of those problem solving skills through the collaborative discourse that is happening within your classroom environment. So I tie all of those pieces together.
Yeah.
And when you think about those pieces tied together, and I love how you smiled when I brought it together, what is bringing you joy right now as a mathematics educator?
I think it's honestly just being in the classroom with the kids and getting their energy. And whether that's positive, like they're with me, or they're groaning because they hate what I'm trying to get them to do, like, it's just nice to have that feedback and know that either I need to do better or like this is something they really leaned into and I need to give them more of that.
And I like how you say you look at it both ways. I think too often we want them to come in every day. I'm excited to be here. Some days I'm not excited to be there. You're not excited to be there. But it's how do we build upon on those perfect days and those days that are not so perfect? How do we continue to use every single moment as a teaching moment? And like you said in the beginning of this episode, I'm just pulling out of this greatness essentially that you have within you. That's all we're doing. And on all those days, every single day, we're being taught something as an educator. And then the children are being taught something, not only what we give them, but also just from their living life experiences every single day that they wake up. And all of the amazing work that you're doing, I can tell you have a sense of mission. So could you describe a little bit more of your mission for engaging children in mathematics? Like, what is your why for the passion that you have in doing what you do?
My why, honestly, is knowing my own experience as a math learner and feeling like all I could do was just perform, right? Like memorize, produce, pass, whatever that looked like in school, and not feeling like I was seen in any capacity beyond the grades that I was able to get and the work that I was able to do in those spaces. And I want students to realize that math is not just like, can you pass the test, right? Like, can you produce this? Can you memorize? So I really want them to come in with their whole personality and feel like there's space for that as well in the classroom, right? There's space for us to be a little off task today, or you can share this thing about yourself, or you don't always have to be like on topic when you're talking with your group. There's room for both. And I encourage them, right, to do that. Got to bring them back a little bit sometimes, but I want them to feel like I'm coming into a space where my teacher understands that I'm not just, a robot trying to get through the work, and that I'm here to feel good about what I'm doing and, not always feel like I'm just supposed to be doing math.
It sounds like you bring a human element to what you're doing and humanizing the work that you're doing, but also humanizing them as people deserving of space, deserving of being able to just be themselves in the moment and not being a robot in the classroom where I come in, I take notes, I lead. But I can come in and be myself in this space. I can be on topic sometimes. I can be off topic sometimes. But at the end of the class, you're allowing them to just be their whole self in that time block and that piece. And I think about someone being their whole self. And I think about our audience watching these. If you can paint a picture of the ideal classroom and what it should look like going forward, what would you want that to be like? What would you tell that teacher that's thinking, I want to do more, or the person that's thinking, I want to be a teacher? What does it need to look like? And painting that picture of what I call for the future, because the future is right around the corner for us.
I think it needs to look like intentional planning so that you are doing less when you're actually in front of the students. I do a lot of the heavy lifting when I'm thinking about what I want them to walk away with, because when I'm in that space, I want them to just be immersed in whatever they're working on and not be the person delivering that content. I also want to give them space to express themselves and, be a little more flexible. So I try to introduce topics that give them an opportunity to share a little about themselves, either the whole group or just individually. But really, I just like to talk them through this is what we're doing today and just let them go for as long as possible. Because I feel like that's the most valuable time. And then the wrap up and this is the takeaway and this is what you need to know very quick at the end so that they know how to move forward with the next piece. But, I don't want to be up there, this is how you do it, done, walk away,
So you don't want to just say, hey, I'm the teacher, let me do it, you do it, and we go home. But really just, again, this whole theme of this episode is really valuing who they are as a young learner. And when you value who they are as a young learner, what role does identity play in that? And let's look at that two ways. What role does your identity play in? How do you engage them? And what role does their identity play into it?
That's the big one. My identity comes out almost every day. I like to just tell them and be very honest with them about, where I'm at emotionally, where I'm at physically, et cetera, and just be like, you can feel free to also be that honest. I start off the year giving them a lot of information about me that they might not know just by looking at me, and having them then do the same and share aspects of themselves that they feel like are really important. And they make little posters, I hang them up all around the room so they can kind of learn about each other that way. I give them opportunities to give me feedback because I like to know what feels like it's going well and what, needs more work. And just different fun parts. They know that I play Drake every Friday. You're going to walk in, it's going to be a Drake song. Don't complain about it. I'm so sorry, And then I give them a chance during the week. What do you guys want to hear? Who's your favorite, whatever, clean version. But, we'll play it just so they can feel they're part of this classroom.
Pause. As a New Yorker, you play a Drake song?
I know.
You went from Queens, and I was with you.
I know.
To now Drake song. So what is your favorite Drake song to play for him?
Ooh, that's hard. Favorite?
A song, let's say Friday is coming up.
Okay.
What's a Drake song you're going to hit play on? So it doesn't have to be favorite, just any Drake song.
Favorite. Best I ever had is my go-to. Because they don't know that. That's old Drake,
That's that classic Drake. That's mixtape Drake.
Yeah, it is, They don't know the mixtape Drake.
So Drake, you have a New Yorker that is playing your music every Friday. Drake, when you watch this episode, I want you to reach out and zoom into that class because they're in New York playing your music in the mathematics classroom. Drake, I need a favor. This is my one favor that I'm asking you.
I'm going to pass out.
I've asked Drake my favor. I'm going to ask you one favor as we wrap this episode. What do you want to see happen in the field of mathematics education?
I want math teachers to really try to meaningfully incorporate ABAR work, so anti-bias, anti-racist work. And I feel like a lot of people hear that and they're like, that's huge. I can't. I just need to get through my content. I have a test at the end of the year. But I feel like there's so many small ways, small moves that you can make a kid feel seen in your space that doesn't have to completely change your curriculum or overhaul how you teach, right? Just give them the opportunity to talk about themselves or share about themselves. Give them downtime to talk with each other, right? Let them come up to the board and present a little bit. You get to see their personalities immediately. I feel like we as math teachers sometimes get so pigeonholed in what we need to accomplish. And we just kind of need to step back and let it happen, because once they're bought in, you can really move with them. It just, you got to put that time in, invest in them.
And that's the key. Every mathematics educator out there, let's take it beyond math. I know the show focuses on math. Every educator out there, what are you doing to invest in the children in which you serve? What are you doing to make sure they have more than what we had when we went through the educational system? Everything that we need in education right now, we have. And some people are going to say, Chris, we don't have everything we need. I do believe we have everything we need. The question is, are we taking advantage of it to get even more of what we need? We have to continue to develop that buy-in, develop these relationships, and keep pushing, because when children come into a classroom every single day, they're giving us their best. We may not view it as their best, but they're showing up. To me, they're giving us their best. What are we doing to develop the relationship with them? What are we doing to give them our best to make sure when they leave this environment, they can go out and do some amazing things, and using mathematics as a catalyst for change in the society, using mathematics as a catalyst for change in this world. Dwaina, it's been a pleasure having you on Inspiring Voices from the Classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so fun.
Do you want to be a guest on the show? Fill out the online submission form at www.christopherchilds.com/shows.